What's happening, Blades? So, down to 4. I don't think that is the overall picture, though, really. That in itself isn't massively surprising. Borough were, so much for Andy the Blades theory that bogey teams will turn up and do the business for us. But Borough are a runaway train at the minute and fully deserve to get promoted automatically. And we look frightened. We are banging trouble here. Mainly down to the performance. I think the lack of desire, it's so disappointing. And the elephant in the room, and of course it splits opinion, is Hecky. Now for me, cards on the table, I've never been convinced. But his record is unbelievable. Now some will argue that coming in after Slav, who completely changed our formation and put square pegs in round holes everywhere, putting round pegs back in round holes and playing the Chris Wilder system in the Championship was an easy way to not only get fans back on side, but get things moving in the right direction. I think that's too simplistic to say. I think he's done a good job and results speak for themselves. But where you really earn your money is when things start going against you. It's all right riding the train while everything's rosy in the garden or whatever the saying is. But when things start to go against you and there's a lot of adversity, then you've got to be able to stand up to that and react and adjust. Now, for me, that team selection yesterday was appalling. Absolutely appalling. If I could go through the team, honestly, and say how bad it was, and then the fact that he can't react mid-game. Why is John Fleck starting? Look, I did a Championship team and a Premier League team that I would prefer if, in both scenarios, if we're promoted or if we stay in Championship. And John Fleck stayed in my Championship squad because, for want of better options, really, and it's cheap. Obviously, he just renewed his contract, but I'll be revisiting that at some stage because I think, let's be right, the way I'm feeling at the moment, I think we will be doing a Championship squad. So the video further down the line will be what I think and what Hecky will probably do. I mean, it reeks of playing your favourites. It reeks of not willing to drop the big guns. Sander Berge is one of the most talented footballers we've seen at the Lane. In very few fits and starts, he hasn't played well for 6 or 7 games. In fact, I can't remember last time he had a really good game. There's no fear of him getting dropped. You can argue that he leaves players like Sander on and he keeps starting players like Sander to play him into form. Norwood would fall into this category. I thought it were his worst performance of the season yesterday. I thought it were appalling. You could argue that he's trying to play into form and that players with that sort of ability can always pull it round or switch it on when they need to and, always pull something out of nowhere. Well, it's not working. Everybody could... What has Tommy Doyle done wrong? What has Tommy Doyle done to Hecky? Because, as the title says, he's made Hecky look daft. He came on, I thought him and McAtee made a real difference. I'm still not 100% convinced by McAtee, but I'd certainly have McAtee over Sander at the moment. I certainly don't think... some are calling for Hecky's head. I think that's premature. However, I think if we don't get promoted this season, it's a very valid question to ask. Because, yes, he's got us in this fantastic position. We could potentially be in an FA Cup semi-final. I get all of that. But with this, we have got, and this is my opinion, and you may feel differently because of how they're playing at the moment, we have got the best squad in the Championship. This may come across as an overreaction to a terrible performance. But we've been playing poorly now for weeks and weeks. Some have said since World Cup. But I've seen evidence as well to argue that before the Borough game we'd won 7, drawn 2, something like that. But it still doesn't mean we've been playing well. We've been getting the results, and I think it'll be documented on previous videos that, we've got the results. We're not playing great, but we've got the right result. It's always going to catch up with you. And talking of catching up with you, they will. They will catch us. And then it's a case of, where's your mentality? How do we respond? Can we get back in front of them? Don't think so. I think it's fair to say that Burnley, certainly, and now Borough, are a better team than us currently, certainly on form. I'm getting to the end of my tether with it, really. I think my balanced mask is slipping. And it's bad news for me. When we play poorly, I go out and do silly things to make myself feel better. I bought a MacBook Air last time. I think it was when Borough beat us at Bramall Lane. Bought myself a new MacBook, which were ridiculous because I hadn't planned on that sort of spend. And this time, I was that peeved with performance. We've got a caravan at Primrose Valley, and we've upgraded this weekend because why not just throw a huge outlay just because I'm miffed with football. So if anybody would like to rent a caravan for a little family getaway at Primrose Valley and help me recoup some of my expenditure, then bladesramble@gmail.com. It's not good for my health. And all joking aside, it puts me off everything. It ruins my mood. I saw somebody put on Twitter and I liked it. I can't remember who it was, apologies, but when we win, I can't get enough content. I can't consume enough. I'm looking at all reaction videos and all highlights at EFL and obviously at Match at Day without controversy and stuff like that at the moment. And when we lose, I don't want to see anything. What is going to change here? We need something to change. You can't pick your favourites. Sander, Fleck, even Norwood at the moment. McBurney, I thought, had a poor game. Why? Here's one. And this will divide opinion, but I'm here to give mine, aren't I? And I'm happy to go back and forth with anybody in comments that disagrees. And I had a joke with Ollie from Sheffield United Way Online because he tweeted, rightly so, it's an interesting stat as we settled on. Every time Billy Sharp has started for United, we've won 10 and drawn 4 this season. Somewhat of that nature. Great record, lost none. Should he be starting? No. Billy should not be starting. Billy has gone. I don't like saying it, but why is Billy Sharp on the bench? Why is Daniel Jebison, the future of the football club, not on the bench? Who's more chance? Who have we got more confidence in to change a game at this stage of their careers? Billy Sharp or Daniel Jebison? Somebody speculated online that Hecky is losing or has lost the dressing room and daren't drop is the bigger name players and the big reputation players. I think there's merit. I'm not saying that's definitely true, but it's one to think about because Billy is a club legend, but he's done nothing this season. Nothing at all. What has Jebison done wrong? He went out on loan last season with Burton, doing really well under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, won a great Premier League striker. Vocal about how much he felt he'd learnt. Got called back in January and played 2-3 times. Stunted his development. We didn't need to call him back. Why not leave him there for the season? We've sent Cadra back. Surely he knew we were pending a transfer embargo, so we wouldn't be able to replace him. I'm sorry if Cadra's unhappy, keep him. If we can't bring anybody else, in usual circumstances, you don't want an unhappy player at the club. But if you know we've no other option, he scored a belter at weekend, Cadra. We play Birmingham at last game at season away. You know what's going to happen, don't you? It's so disappointing. So disappointing. I think there's only a couple of things that can save us, if I'm honest. I don't think it's a managerial change. I think if you asked me Aunt Sal, she'd have sacked him weeks ago, because Aunt Sal is not a fan. Sacking him is not the answer with 10 games to go. He's got us into this position. You let him see the job through, I think. But the stakes are very, very high. Very, very high. A couple of things could potentially need to happen. The first one is to not play your favourites. And I don't think I've mentioned Bogle yet, but he needs to come out. I think George Baldock needs to be in. I would rather, obviously Doyle needs to be in. I would rather McAtee for Sander. I want Jebison on bench instead of Sharp. I'd even have Jebison start alongside Ndiaye. Let McBurney have a little sit out, because he's not been great. I don't think he won a header, other than a couple of defensive headers in box. Life as a blader. It's Can you imagine if we don't go up this year? The other thing I think would be really positive is if Dozy gets approved imminently, and then we can sort of look at contract extensions. We can obviously lift the embargo, get a bit of direction, because we're rudderless at the minute. It's chaos off the pitch. I don't believe that affects players on the pitch, if I'm honest, other than the contract situation and not knowing the future. But we'd be working like that anyway, even if we had stable ownership, because we don't know what division we're going to be in. And the way we've planned it and the way we've chosen to go as a club is to risk losing good players for nothing or less money, letting the contracts run down as we give it a final push with those high reputation players to get out of the division. So it's a gamble, and I think it's proven to be one worth taking. I think I saw something about, it might have been Darren Smith again, that said, had Borough been on normal promotion form, 2 points a game average, they'd be 10 points behind us now, still. They've been averaging 2.4 points a game. Absolutely unreal. They will deserve to go up. They'll definitely be going up, whether it's automatic or playoffs. But I think they're catching us. I think they're going to catch us, and I think us dropping into the playoffs will be an absolute head spin for some of these lads. And it's a lottery, isn't it? We're better than any of the other three teams that'll be in those playoffs. But turning up in them will be a completely different kettle of fish, particularly after we've been in automatics all season. I'm sorry to be so down about it, but I think I'm sharing all our feelings currently on how frustrated we are. We were 13 points clear at once. I've heard people say 14, but I think they're getting that confused with the fact that we had a superior goal difference, which is equivalent to an extra point. But if we were going to spiral and drop the necessary games for Borough to catch up with us, goal difference were never going to help, because that would have come down naturally with the results changing. So we were 13 clear points away from them. The problem now is they play Tuesday. They play Stoke at home. Stoke are in good form. And, we can hope, can't we? But likelihood is they're going to be 1 point behind us when we have to go to Sunderland. And if we don't win at Sunderland, then when we play Blackburn in the Cup, they've got a league game of Borough. I don't know who it's against. I'll have to have a look. But if they win that league game and we haven't beaten Sunderland, they go above us. So we need to beat Sunderland to go into the international break second. And don't get me wrong, Stoke could beat Borough on Tuesday, and we could beat Sunderland at Stadium of Light, because they've not been great. I know they beat Norwich today, but they've not been great recently. I think they've sort of tailed off massively, to be honest. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but the way we're playing currently, would you back us really? Because I won't. Max Lowe, awful. But we've no other option there. I'm sure I saw something about Andre Brooks being able to play left wing back. Give him a go. Let's have some fresh blood who are chomping at the bit to get in the side. And where's Ollie Arblaster? Why is it always big names on bench? Big names who are massively out of form. I tell you what, if I were a professional player, if I'm Ollie Norwood and I'm on bench for Ollie Arblaster, a young 18-year-old, or Andre Brooks, then when I'm coming on, I'm proving a point why I'm the main boy. He's no pressure. He's not going to get dropped. Sander, same. Coasting around. He lost the ball at one stage in first half yesterday. And he'd done well, I think. He'd gone past a player and then he got tackled because he'd let it run a little bit. Because on the ball, he's very good. And then he lost the ball and he jogged. He jogged back, and I'm talking slower than McBurney jogs. And I just think there's no desire in his game at all. He's not giving everything for shirt. It's so disappointing. So disappointing. I ain't gone to town on John Fleck because I don't think I need to. I think it were there for everybody to see. I think he's been a fantastic servant for the club. But, wow, it was awful yesterday. Absolute worst game I've seen him in a United shirt. Tommy Doyle sat on bench, who'd had a man of the match performance against Tottenham. Another theory I heard was, I think it were on Radio Sheffield, on Praise or Grumble on way back. Hecky thought that the team he put out against Tottenham would get hammered. But unfortunately for Hecky, in a lot of ways, they didn't. Because if they had been hammered, it'd have sort of hit home that these players aren't all that and we've got to go with main squad. Well, the players that played against Tottenham gave more fight than I've seen in first teamers over the last 6 games or so. It's embarrassing. What I would say as well, if you haven't caught it, and I'm not sure, I think this is usually what gets played on our YouTube channel, Sheffield United YouTube channel, but I heard it on Radio Sheffield when they were interviewed live, and I want to say, thank you very much to Adam Oxley. I thought there were superb questions he put to Hecky. They were just the questions that we wanted answering as a fan base, and he stuttered and stumbled his way through, if I'm honest. That was my opinion. I thought they were very defensive. You know, you're asking questions such as, is a change in midfield required? And why were Tommy Doyle not in the 11? And so give it a watch. And I think we need local reporters like that to hold people to account rather than pandering to them. And so I thought I'd tip me out to Adam Oxley, who were really good there. I don't like to be negative. But I also need to be real in terms of how things are. And it's so disappointing. It's inevitable, I think, what's going to happen, and I don't like thinking like that, but we've been steering that way for a while, and we've got the players to get us out, that are able to get us out of it. They can, but whether they will, I think that's the question. Players like Egan need to really stand up now and be a leader. Mark Duffy put something on Twitter that I thought were interesting, saying that he'd bet everything he had that these players would turn it around and get promotion because there's leaders in that dressing room. Well, Duffster, Bounce Slayer, I hope nothing more than for you to be right on that call, because that's what we all want, isn't it? You know, what we'd kill for a Mark Duffy team now, a prime Mark Duffy. He gets in over Sander all day long. I don't care. You know, we got Duffy for free. Never mind 22 million. I've had a huge bump in subscribers recently. I really appreciate that. I've put another video together. It's riddled with copyright issues, so this video will not get monetized, even if the channel does. But that's not what we're doing this for, is it? We're doing it because we're trying to put out decent content, and that's the main thing. So see if you get the reference, or the couple of references, into why I've put this video together like this. I had to explain it to my brother, who's has a respectable job, and didn't quite get the reference in it, but I think 99% of you will. So give this one a watch, see what you think.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces passing, I'm all bound. Staring blankly ahead, making my way through the crowd. And I need you, and I miss you, and now I wonder if I could fall into the sky. Do you think time would pass me by? 'Cause I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you tonight.
So, the bit that my brother didn't get, it's the Grand Tour 1,000, and it's 1,000 miles. That's the song. So, he didn't get it. Well, if you can, and you enjoy what we do, I know I appreciate this hasn't been the most positive of videos, so it's probably not the best one to punt on, but please do like, share, and subscribe. Let's get us over the line. Can you help us get to 1,000? That's the milestone that we're after, and then I'll stop pandering, because that means we're a fully monetized channel, and I need to claw some money back from this bloody MacBook and now this chuffing caravan. So again, anybody wants to book Primrose Valley for the family, get in touch with me at bladesrambled@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for watching. Keep the faith. It's never easy being a blade. It's it's character building. It's draining. It's brilliant, and it's crap all at the same time. So we wouldn't have it another way is a lie, actually. But it's what we're doing. It's because we love them, and whatever division we're in next year, we'll be there. So I'm checking this off now. The whole point of me starting this channel was so it was quite cathartic for me. I'm hoping this has done the trick. I've got all my sort of anger and bluster out of the way. I'll be back for a Sunderland preview, and my Watch Your Team will probably look very different to what Hecky's team will be. But I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope he shakes it up a little bit, because it feels like a bit of a turning point. So, come on you red and white wizards, up the blade!
Ramble on.